वो ट्रांसफर जी सर इसके उस पे जाए मुझे लिंक होता है कोई फाइल लेफ्ट पे जो मीटिंग का लिंक होता है वो एरो बना हुआ है ग्रीन कलर का जी कॉपी करिए हाँ जी सर ये चेंज हो गई है ना अभी अच्छा जी क्यों चेंज हो गई मुझे नहीं चेंज नहीं होना चाहिए तो सारे मीटिंग लिंक टाइम होगा फिर तो सारे वो होंगे 9 5 people start without other from Dr. Putri. So I think this question we have always when we are discussing Islamic finance, that Islamic finance is more resilient to financial crisis. This crisis may be exogenous and may be endogenous. Endogenous means that we have financial crisis coming out from financial system, like global financial crisis. And of course, we have empirical data to support our claim that Islamic finance perform better compared to conventional and global financial crisis. But when we are looking to this exogenous crisis, so what's your opinion regarding this resilience of Islamic finance when it's come to this exogenous crisis like COVID-19?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. And all the panelists and the organizing committee. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for inviting us here in this such a beautiful event. It's Saturday night in Indonesia. And thank you so much for inviting us. And I hope everyone could benefit and learn something, take the lessons, and hopefully produce something that is useful for our country. Right. So today's topic is about how Islamic finance would tackle such a crisis that we are now facing. Basically, what is crisis? Everybody starts saying when I ask when we ask people what is crisis, they say simply there is not enough liquidity in the market. I mean that's the surface level, right? When we say what is crisis, people will tend to say or tend to answer that there is not enough money in the market. There is no money in the market. There's plenty of jobs, but no money. There is plenty of demand, but no money. There's simply not enough money in the market. So is it, you know, the next questions, but is it really so? Is it really not enough money, not enough liquidity in the market causes crisis? Then we come to today's situations where COVID, we blame COVID, we suspect COVID as the cause for the crisis, but I'm afraid to say COVID is only the tip of the iceberg. There is a bigger problem beneath the surface, which is our current economic system. The problem with our current economic system is that we don't distribute liquidity in a way that everybody could access it. You know, to have an access to liquidity, you should have today's system impose costs. There is a cost to access liquidity, and this cost to access liquidity is aggravated by our situation today, by pandemic, by you know, this all qadarullah, right? This is all in Allah's watch, in Allah's sight. So this happened, you know, it only even shows to us, it only even make you know, open our eyes that there is a high cost for us as an economic agents to have an access into liquidity, because we know that there is enough liquidity in the market. There is abundance of liquidity in the market. Ask any banker, you know, how much is you know, saving that they have at hand in their bank. They have a lot of liquidity. They have a lot of money. We save our money, you know, me and Dr. Fatin and Dr. Tawfik and Dr. Abdullah. We earn a salary. Our salary, our campus, our university transfer directly to our bank account. So meaning we have a lot of, we have savings in money, and our savings stuck in the intermediary, in the intermediation part, in the distribution part. So the problem is always on the distribution part. What I want to convey is that the problems in the crisis is always under distributions part. Islamic finance try to attack the distributions problems of liquidity. How we see al-bay', wa halallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. That's on the verse of Al-Baqarah, number 275. It's an attack to the distributions part of money, of liquidity. Why? Because when Allah says al-bay', it means that we have to share in hands. What does share in hand mean? Meaning that there is no cost in accessing the liquidity. There should be at least minimal cost in accessing liquidity. What is the minimal cost? At least we should know each other well. At least we should, the intermediary or the agent that is supposed to distribute, at least they're supposed to know the one who want to access, or at least the one who have a surplus, they could directly screen the projects that they want to distribute or they want to support. So in that sense, the minimal cost, al-bay' is actually attacking the distributions problem in the crisis. And the situations of scarcity of money, that there's no enough money in the market, basically forces people to reduce consumption. Because we keep thinking that there is not enough money in the market, tomorrow we are not certain on something, we hold consumptions, we hold of, I believe that everyone here are craving to travel. You know, the demand of traveling is really is high today, but we just hold our traveling activities, right? We don't want to travel right now. We hold it. So that's what happened. We hold our consumptions. So that in Islamic social finance, you have sadaqah, you have infaq, you have waqf to actually spike up, to actually improve or ameliorate the consumptions that people have to consume. That's actually the urgency. So the instruments of sadaqah, the instruments of infaq, the instruments of waqf, the instrument of zakat that we are now facing the holy month of Ramadan, that actually to hike, to increase our consumption level in order to level up with the crisis of liquidity that we have today, that we face today because of the costs. So that's my take. I think that's my take. I return back, and I will come back. It's now Maghrib prayers, Adhan time in Indonesia. Yeah. But I will come back later on to answer the questions.
We are returning back. You will be there, hopefully. So let me take into the discussion. Dr. Abdullah Ludeen, being an ex-director of Islamic Banking Division in Central Bank. Okay, so I think Doctor has mentioned 2 or 3 main points. So first one, she is discussing that we have a lot of liquidity in the market. And the second thing, she is mentioning that why there is a cost regarding when you provide financing. And the third one, that why not we introduce the concept of sharing and caring of others. So when we have a lot of liquidity in the market, and on the other hand, we also need to consider the cost. So now the question is, what's your opinion regarding where Islamic finance industry is struggling to bring people into the financial system? In other words, how to bring more people, these excluded people, to the economics system to benefit from.
Thank you, Dr. Shabeer and the IBA Sukkur for inviting me to this precious webinar. Thank you all. See, financial exclusion is a topic, it's a challenge in most countries nowadays. Even before the crisis, this was a problem for the financial institutions, that the difficulty that how to bring people into financial system. If we look at the Global Index database, more than half of the world adult population does not have an account with a formal financial institution. And these exclusions are maybe we can categorize it into the voluntary financial exclusion and involuntary financial exclusion. Involuntary financial exclusion is the share of population that would like to have access to financial services but do not, for various reasons. Maybe they don't have access to financial services, or maybe they don't have enough funds. During the lockdowns and the COVID-19, this gap further broadened, and the access of people to financial services has become limited. They had limited services because there was lockdowns, the branches were closed, most of the ATMs were working. So this type of involuntary financial exclusion further broadened and increased. The second type of financial exclusion is the voluntary financial exclusions. This is the dangerous one. There are individuals who choose not to use the financial services due to several reasons. But in Muslim world, we can pick up a big point for voluntary financial exclusion or self-financial exclusion is the religious reason. Most of the people, they are not going to banking industry or banking system due to religious reasons, due to the existence of interest in the system. So if we look at the figures, the financial exclusion due to religious reasons is high in Muslim countries. And especially if we look at the percentages, Afghanistan is the highest one. 34% of people or adults say that they are going to financial centers or banks because of the religious reasons. And Indonesia, Iraq, this 24, 26%. Very less in Malaysia because the system is good. So so if we look at the Muslim countries, this self-financial exclusion due to religious reasons are high in these countries. Therefore, for the Islamic banking industry, there is a huge potential for Islamic finance in general and the banking industry in specific to include the excluded population into the financial system. And if we look at the Muslim countries, especially my country, 99% of, more than 99% of the population are Muslim, and there is a huge demand for the Islamic finance industry. So in this COVID-19 or maybe in the post-COVID-19 situations, the Muslim countries should try to increase access to financial services, especially for those who are excluded from the system due to religious reasons, and provide them faith-based financial services. So this will decrease the problem of self-financial exclusion, and it will help the financial industry to strengthen and further contribute to the development of the country. Thank you.
Okay, so it means that if you want to bring more people into the system, so we need to have a larger size of Islamic financial industry, or you can say our Islamic financial asset, our Islamic banking. As per the discussion, you mentioned that because people are excluded, and one of the major reason, as per the statistic, you say that these are religiously concerned, or religious reason, because the system you are operating isn't conventional, so therefore they don't want to join because of this reason. So in other words, if we have more Islamic financial asset and institutions, so a lot of people will come to the system and they can benefit. So the objective of to have more people into the system or access of finance to everyone can be achieved, which is one of the goal of World Bank as well as other United Nations organizations are trying to achieve. Okay, thank you. Now, this question is related to the expertise of Dr. Fatin. So when we are talking about this particular issue of bringing people into the system, the liquidity. So then now the question is that how Islamic finance in particular, sorry, Islamic finance in general, but Islamic social finance in particular is a sustainable model compared to conventional we have, particularly when we have these COVID-19 shocks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very thankful and honored to be invited by IBA Sukkur. And special thanks to Brother Shabeer, who organized this particular session for all the students. And this is really wonderful to have, knowledge sharing sessions. And I'm so delighted and honored that I can, share my 2 cents with reference to Islamic finance, which is so dear to my heart. I'm going to tell you a very simple story that I have, experienced while working in a conventional bank before. So here I am, a frontline staff in a local bank in Oman. At the time, we did not have Islamic finance or Islamic banking solutions in the Sultanate back in 2000. It was actually 2000s when I was, a young kind of in an internship program, nominated by a local bank over here. So here comes an old man who is, complaining about his situation at the moment. He wasn't able to provide for his family. He was in a debt situation. And as frontline staff, we have advised him to take a credit card to solve his issue. Now, this is the whole issue with the conventional banking system. It's like somebody is in debt and you are adding to the debt with another debt. So there is something very wrong with the financial system as it is. That's why we are experiencing financial crisis like every 10 years. We're having 2007 And of course, the 1997 crisis. So it becomes, something that we are experiencing every 1 decade, and it's been a problem. So here comes the Islamic financial system, which, my colleagues actually can challenge me with, but it is built on 3 main principles. In my very simple-minded, analysis, it's built on a very 3 basic principles. First is the fact that you have to do halal screening, or what we call the Sharia screening, in which you are segregating the products, in which some of them are halal, Sharia compliant, permissible, and some of them are not permissible, based on the criteria given by Sharia. So this is number 1. Number 2 is you have to back or base your financing to an asset. So basically, banks are not in the business of giving liquidity without having those questions. What are you taking this money for? They are doing their due diligence to gather information on what exactly you are taking this money for. So you have to bring an underlying asset for every financing that you are looking forward to finance, which is interesting. And number 3 is this beautiful mix of risk sharing product range that we are having. And this is such an amazing, introduction to the financial system, because the financial system was built on borrower-lender relationship. The relationship between you and your bank is borrower-lender. It is not as interesting as when you go to the bank, where you can be an investor, where you can be a Rabbul Mal, where the relationship totally differs. And as Ms. Putri, when she mentioned the beautiful range of Islamic financial instruments, such as waqf, social financing instruments, you will notice that there is a huge difference between the conventional and the Islamic financial system. Now, the Islamic financial system does operate with these beautiful principles. However, the practicing part is a bit different. When it comes to, walking the talk, yes, there are discrepancies, but remember, this is an infancy phase industry. We are still, been established with Midghamer in Egypt. I think it was in the 1960s. And we have been introducing these products for the benefit of the local community. Now, with the COVID-19 situation, it is quite interesting to see what's happening. Most of the individuals are not able to pay off their debts because of the situation that is happening in their countries. Economic conditions are quite harsh at the moment. They cannot pay their debts. They are feeling the sting of what they should be doing. And of course, you know that Islamic financial industry is based also on beautiful principles that allow for a defaulter to delay the payment if it's not under his control. In the surah, it is mentioned, فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ, meaning that we cannot penalize the defaulter for the time he is not able to pay. And this is what's happening at the moment with the COVID-19 situation. In Oman, what the government has done is, due to the COVID-19 situation, they have allowed the defaulters to have a bit more time and did a restructuring of their finance when it comes to the loan repayments. Now, this feature is available by default in the Islamic financial institutions, but because we have this particular principle, we were able to derive it to the other conventional financial institutions. So with this, sorry, I think it's important to understand that the Islamic financial system is built with beautiful products that we can actually adapt, and as well, the other organizations that are not built within this system can learn from. And this is what we have seen at the moment with the sustainable finance movement in Europe and the demands for ESG screening at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. for your wonderful discussion, and also share experience of your own country. I think if I connect the coming question with your discussion that you have mentioned regarding that in conventional system we have debt over debt, and then you mentioned 3 principles, and one of the important principles we have is risk sharing, and then we have a halal screening. Okay, so and then we have this pandemic, and there is a delay in payment. I think it's not only related to Oman. I think each country, the government has tried to support the people in terms of giving them some relaxation in terms of paying their debt. So I think it's everywhere in the world. So the question is now from Dr. Tawfik, if I want to see and listen him regarding his opinion and view on that how Islamic social finance can play a role after this COVID-19, taking into consideration that we have this risk sharing model, and I think Dr. Putri also mentioned regarding Waqf model, and then of course, which Dr. Ludeen is talking about, that we can bring more people into the system and we can reduce this financial exclusion. So what will be the role of Islamic social finance after COVID-19?
Thank you very much, Dr. Brother Shabeer, for your introduction and for inviting me to this beautiful session today with all my colleagues here. First of all, I agree with what she said with Dr. Fatin and Dr. Putri into the importance of social finance currently, especially after this COVID-19 pandemic. We see what happened to this work. Actually, first of all, it's said in many literature that COVID-19 pandemic has turned back the poverty clock. So first of all, currently there is need to have a social mechanism so we can put in place in order to provide relief to those who are affected from this pandemic. This is the first point. And also in terms of Islamic social finance, as we know, it is consists from tools and institutions that could be used to alleviate poverty and hunger all over the world. And we have to implement those tools and instruments, especially in current day. Of course, the main social finance tools in Islamic finance, we have many tools. Among important them, we have waqf, we have zakat, baytul mal, we have qardul hasan, we have also green sukuk, and so on. So every Islamic financial institutions currently is responsible to invest more in this important sector. And they have to report all their investments to their shareholders. I mean, in their financial statements, either in their annual reports or in their social responsibility reports or any other area. They have to report what information they have provided. For example, they have to report for their shareholders how much they spent in terms of social financing and where they spent this money in order to reduce the poverty level among their countries. In addition, of course, within the social finance space, also we can mention Islamic crowdfunding. Islamic crowdfunding is very important, which also been instruments in facilitating fundraising through the capital market for social projects, particularly in the microfinance and small medium enterprise segments, SME segments. So those are among the instruments which we can implement and have very important rules, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, brother.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And you have mentioned very important aspect, and this is crowdfunding. So we can also utilize this tool of crowdfunding. We can raise funds by using this crowdfund approach or models to impact society positively, particularly after COVID-19. We have a lot of people, they lost their job, and of course, a lot of businesses suffer. So we can use this platform to support these people. Okay, I think Dr. Putri is still not here as she is returned. Okay, so I think, okay, she will join, but now I'm going towards turning back to Dr. Abdullah. So the question is that we are using the this Islamic finance, particularly we have a major portion of Islamic banks that represent, or we can say the asset of Islamic finance majority are consist of Islamic banking. Okay, but we have a social finance also, and it's very, you can say, a small portion compared to Islamic banking. So it means if banks are not able to aid people into the system, it means that we have Islamic social finance, and it is the last resort to bring people into the system. So it means now we need not to too much focus on banks, Islamic banks, even Islamic banks. Now we need to move towards Islamic social finance model to bring people into the system. In other words, Islamic banks are failed, or you can say are struggling to bring people into the system. And we have Islamic social finance, and as the last resort. What's your opinion on this, being an ex-banker and particularly regulator?
Thank you, Dr. Shabeer Khan. Certainly, this Islamic social finance has the potential to reduce the drawbacks of the COVID-19, especially in the case of the poor and unprivileged population. This is very important, and Islamic social finance are the effective tools to do this. Such as Islamic finance tools, we can mention the two main tools like zakat, which is the obligatory charity, and the waqf, the endowment. They both can positively contribute to reduce financial exclusion of the poor. How? See, this zakat and the waqf are such the world is working towards achieving the sustainable development goals, and Islamic social finance provides new options to help mobilize these efforts to particularly to end poverty and hunger. Poverty and hunger are from the sustainable development goals, and Islamic social finance, especially the zakat and the waqf, can contribute to reduce the poverty and hunger in Muslim countries and maybe all around the world. But innovation is needed to make Islamic social finance tools more effective. The cultural ways are not enough to do this, such as Islamic finance experts in coordination with the authorities should institutionalize the concept of zakat and waqf to find sustainable solutions for eradicating the poverty and hunger. How it should be possible, such as for the zakat, instead of distributing cash zakat to poor and unprivileged population, one should seek a sustainable way to eradicate the poverty permanently. How? For instance, the zakat should be invested in corporations, and then the shares of those corporations should be distributed to the poor and unprivileged population. By doing this, the poor will become a shareholder in profitable corporations and will have a sustainable source of income in long term, and ultimately reduce financial exclusion of the poor and reduce the hunger and reduce the poverty. So we have to go for the innovative tools, not the cultural distribution of cash zakat. Secondly, for the awqaf, it's evident that in most countries, poor population is not able to use healthcare services and enroll their children in educational institutions because it's costly and the poor cannot afford either healthcare or the educational system. So in the meantime, due to the limitation of budget in some developing countries, the governments are also not able to provide health and education services to poor and unprivileged population free of cost. So therefore, the government can develop awqaf properties and use the income generated from the awqaf properties to sponsor the healthcare and education of the poor and unprivileged population. And this will ultimately end up the social exclusion of the poor and unprivileged population. In addition to this, we can use microfinance to make it possible through the non-profit Islamic microfinance organization that aim to reduce poverty by giving out Qard Hasan interest-free loan to the poor population. So we can use three main social Islamic social finance tools: zakat, but not the normal one, the institutionalized one. And then the awqaf, the government, the Muslim government should develop the awqaf, and then awqaf will sponsor the healthcare system and the education system. And thirdly, there should be non-profit Islamic microfinance, which can provide Qard Hasan to the poor population. So these are the three main tools. Thank you, Dr. Shabeer.
Okay, I think you have mentioned many points. You have mentioned regarding that we need to use innovative approach. We have to move from our culture approach. We have a classical approach. We have to have innovative product. For example, we have the same zakat product, but we need to have innovative model, and this must be institutionalized. And the same goes to waqf. I think we have a very historical, very good Islamic history when it comes to waqf. I think I will also ask Dr. Tawfik if he can share some experience regarding the waqf institution Turkey have in the golden era of Ottoman Empire. So I think they have run their education and their health by using waqf fund at that time. And of course, you have also mentioned regarding microfinance that we need to have microfinancial tools too. And you have mentioned regarding Qard Hasan. I think we are normally ignoring the importance of Qard Hasan. So I think if you look at the impact of interest-free loan, particularly we have here in Pakistan, the example of Ahwad, it impact people. We can say that it brought a lot of people out of poverty, and it provide job opportunity, and people have businesses. I think if we visit their website, we can find a lot of fact and figure how they impact society. And now they have, I think, 100 billion rupees in their fund. Okay, so now I want to ask Dr. Tawfik if you share some experience of Turkey, that how they are doing now with this waqf institution, and how this institution can be helpful in terms of the situation we have currently after COVID-19, because a lot of people need protection, a lot of people need food and income and permanent source of revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shabeer. Yes, I agree with Brother Abdullah regarding zakat and awqaf. It's playing very important roles. And especially nowadays, also here in Turkey, they are they are focusing on cash waqf. This is in terms of form of cash, either permanent or temporary. Actually, those waqf institutions playing very important role after this COVID-19 pandemic, because lots of people who would like now to start, for example, their businesses, they don't have much assistance from banks, because bank, as you know, since the crisis started, they didn't give lots of financing to many customers. So when those customers, they approach the waqf institutions, so they found their, what we call it, I mean, they give them lots of funds in terms of cash waqf, and they give them flexibility in repaying those debts. They give 1 year, 2 years, and without any interest until their growth, until their project will show some growth and some improvement, then they can repay some of their debt. And in addition to that, in general, Islamic social finance, I think it will be in the next era the key to end this poverty and hunger, because also we have other products have also important, like for example, we don't forget the sukuk, or we call it as green sukuk. Those which will be used for financing environmentally sustainable initiatives, as they may fund renewable energy production and waste management, or even sustainable agriculture. So, or other area benefit the environment or mitigate the climate change risks. So all those green sukuk and awqaf is playing important roles in ending poverty and hunger, especially after this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, I think you have mentioned 2 or 3 very important things. When you have mentioned the term cash workup, I think it's a very important tool to be utilized to bring people out of poverty, and particularly when we are talking about these 2 SDGs, the first 2, and this is zero hunger and no poverty, or the poverty and the hunger. These 2 SDGs are supposed to be can be achieved through using this cash workup concept. And you have mentioned regarding that we need to have a green sukuk, or to have a sustainable model for agriculture. When we are talking about agriculture sector, particularly in case of Pakistan, so almost 60-70% people are still related to agriculture sector, and they are earning from there. And Sukkur IBA is also located in the area which majority we have agriculture there. So I think this sustainable model of agriculture can be borrowed and can be used to bring changes in the people of life, particularly who are living in a country which based on agriculture, particularly to our vicinity. So now I want to bring Dr. Putri because she is also she's from Indonesia, and Indonesia have also a very wonderful story regarding impact of microfinance on people's life, and a lot of people have got a benefit from using Islamic microfinance tools and products. So can you share, Dr., your experience of Indonesia, how you have changed the life of people, and which model you have utilized to fight these 2 SDGs, which is poverty and hunger? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shabeer. Thank you for the opportunity again. Yeah, so from Indonesian experience, we've seen a lot of development these days regarding to the Islamic finance future in Indonesia. The development I mentioned is that first we try to we have the first global cash link based wakaf sukuk. So it's a cash wakaf basically linked to the coupon that sukuk holder receive. So the sukuk itself, based on the projects, on the national projects that government initiated based on the demands of the people. So the social projects such as building roads, bridges, schools, and also other infrastructures, public infrastructures that is vital for sustainability, especially improving access to people. That's the key point. So this sukuk yield a return called coupons, and those coupons is not being received, but instead being converted to a cash wakaf. And that wakaf is linked to the health sector. Linked to the health sector in terms of the development or the constructions of a hospital or hospitals in plural. And now it's the cash wakaf is building one hospital, but plan to build more hospitals for more islands in Indonesia. Because as you know, geographically, Indonesia is challenging because of the islands, because we are an archipelago country. We have over than 17,000 islands in the nations. So yeah, improving access, that's the key point. That's also the spirit of Al-Bay that I mentioned in the beginning. Improving access, having people gain more access, more strength, more power to access, because the difference between Al-Bay and riba is actually whether the other system is actually hindering. So coming back to the cash wakaf link sukuk, The plan now is to build one hospital, and it's now building the hospital. Indonesia is also known as the the largest, if not I'm not updating the data, but I know that a year ago we are the largest sukuk issuance, global sukuk issuance in terms of green sukuk. We have green sukuk for agriculture. We have blue sukuk for energy. We have green, blue, and for water as well. So there are certain types, we are attacking certain public infrastructures projects, and is structured based on the Islamic financial instruments. So that is the development in Islamic public finance. Islamic public finance. The development in Islamic social finance is, as you know, I mean, this is a wakaf, so it's also Islamic social finance. But also we strengthen we empower also the BMT. What is the BMT? We have this microfinance, Islamic microfinance institutions in Indonesia called Baitul Mal wa Tamwil, which is severely hit by the crisis. Because in crisis people tend to rush, or they, we have money, we put money on the Islamic microfinance institutions, and it's crisis, so we tend to withdraw our money from the Islamic microfinance institutions. Anyway, it's micro, so we have lack of trust. So now what the government does today is to improve on the management side of these BMPs, this Baitul Mal wa Tamwil, and also to oversight the liquidity inside, to assure people that these BMPs are safe. Putting money on or saving money on this BMP is as safe as you put money on the larger bank. So basically, that's the idea.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to know that if you look at the impact of cash wakaf compared to this green sukuk, which one remain more impactful when it's come to this student poverty, hunger? Let's come to Indonesia.
I didn't.
Of course, my question is that you have mentioned that you have cash wakaf and you use this funds, wakaf sukuk, and you use this fund for health sector, and then you have this green sukuk used for agriculture sector. So my question is that which model are this? You have cash wakaf sukuk, and then you have green sukuk. Which one remain more impactful?
The question is which one more what?
Impactful means which one?
Impactful. Okay, impactful, because because the connections or whatsoever, your voice tends to disappear somehow. Okay, impactful. Which one is more impactful? We haven't done empirical study to show the net benefit analysis and to suggest to come down into a suggestions that this one is more impactful. But so far, what we've seen today, which is more, which one is people gain more benefits, then it is the cash link based wakaf. Cash link based wakaf sukuk is more. People can see the benefits more. Sukuk holder owns the projects that is pivotal for the society, like building roads, bridges, schools, and the coupon that they receive from sukuk is converted directly to the hospital, that we can also enjoy the benefit. So when it is, the net benefit analysis we haven't done, but what we feel today is the cash wakaf link sukuk is more, we receive more benefits. as in the projects that is now under constructions, and also the hospital now that is under construction. So we sort of like kill two birds in one stone, something like that.
Okay, thank you. I think you have mentioned this new term, cash-linked Waqf Sukuk. I think this model can be borrowed from your country and can be practiced or can use here in other Muslim country too. So particularly Pakistan, because we also have, we need a lot of hospitals, and of course, a lot of development are needed in agriculture sector. But now I'm going towards Dr. Fatin, particularly when it's come to the case of Oman and your expertise, you have done work on this sustainability indicator. So if you look at the SME globally, around 90% all enterprises as well as businesses are related to SME. So it means 50% employment has been provided by SME worldwide. So now the question is, we have this pandemic which impact almost all sector of economy, but particularly this SME are suffer a lot. So what will be the future of SME if we are facing this kind of crisis? For example, we have this pandemic and maybe we have other type of crisis. So how to save this SME from this kind of crisis? Thank you.
Certainly. Well, it's an excellent question, Brother Shabeer. In fact, SMEs contribute a lot to economic growth in their countries, in their respective countries. And when pandemics such as this one affects them, it really affects the whole economy at large. So if we read, I'm sure that some of the students have read the Banker to the Poor, which is written by Muhammad Yunus, in which he, promotes a very interesting business model. He provides a micro-lending technique to the very, very poor in Bangladesh. And this means that there is potential in even this very simple segment. So if we leverage, can you imagine leveraging the Mudaraba and Musharaka Islamic financial instruments to this particular segment to encourage the SMEs to form in that particular segment? It would promote, first of all, the sustenance of the poor people. This is one. In addition to that, it provides really, addressing the main issues when you are in a crisis situation. Because even if you are in crisis, this doesn't mean that you do not need necessities. So SMEs can actually, turn to more attractive revenues. Now, SMEs in crisis, excuse me, but Brother Mihar, can you unmute yourself? Because I can hear, is it Brother Mihar? Because it appears in my screen that he is muted. Okay. So if we, provide this particular business model to the SMEs, they are also very flexible in terms of addressing the crisis, because they are not big corporations at the end of the day. So their flexibility is higher. Their, tolerance to rigidity is as well higher than the corporates. Corporates are very much, under the government, control, and sometimes they have to abide to the regulation and tax system and so forth. SMEs are more flexible. So Islamic finance with the beautiful products of Mudaraba and Musharaka can really enhance the economic situation and provide employment opportunities in terms of SMEs. And I know that you will tell me this is hard, doctor. How can we provide in crisis more, micro kind of lending techniques to people who are suffering? So I'll tell you, if you look from the point of the Silicon Valley, if you are going to compare to the Silicon Valley venture capitalist system, you will notice that they are actually flourishing. And the reason is they have adopted this particular system, even when it was very questionable. In fact, these particular products that I'm talking about, Mudaraba and Musharaka, seem to be very, risky. And even if you are going to compare it to other products available in the balance sheet of banks, you will notice that they are quite limited. So they're not giving as much. And I do agree with the banks. It is very difficult only to just give in. What Muhammad Yunus did in his Banker to the Poor book is something that we need to learn from. He said he was able to get collateral from the villages. How? By instigating the help of the, the village leader. And that particular system in the Islamic communities is available. And I think this is a way to promote, SMEs, to promote the development of that particular region, to, avoid being in that particular crisis situation and worsen off your situation by, not feeling the trust to give. It will impact really horribly to the economy. And I would like to remind you, in the Great Depression, what happened in the Great Depression in the 1940s, in which, the rich were holding back. They were holding back to spend because they were afraid that they are going to be losing their savings. And the government actually had to intervene. And this is where Keynesian, in terms of because it was based on the new classical theory, that the economy actually has to help itself. It's going to be like a reach to equilibrium again. It will self-recover. But this didn't happen because the rich were holding back. And the thing is, with SMEs, you really need to pump in the money. In 1940s, the Great Depression, the US government did this. So in our financial system, we are saying we have to be there for one another. So let us be there for one another. We have, of course, my colleagues mentioned the zakat system. People say, it's hard to collect zakat. I beg to differ. It's not hard. It is actually fard. You know what is fard? It's actually as doing the salat that you do 5 times a day. So if you are exercising religion, that's why when I began, I said there is difference between talking and walking the talk. There is a difference. I'm not ignoring that there is, people who are practicing and believing, but zakat is fard. So providing that we are solid together, we can provide an opportunity to allow those SMEs to flourish and also allow employment to happen within the Islamic financial industry and provide the economy a chance to recover within the crisis. And I would like to hear from the panelists as well, how do they think that, of course, our Islamic financial instruments are so unique in itself? Sister Putri mentioned the green waqf, cash waqf, which is amazing. In Oman, we are now aggressively pursuing these, waqf programs. We have Amana waqf. We have also the Al-Imam Jabir bin Zayd waqf institution. Of course, the zakat is really, alhamdulillah, active in Oman. We do our zakat on an annual basis, but it is not obligatory. I know that some this might be a situation. However, we are trying as much as we can to, instill that kind of liquidity into the market, although the crisis situation.
Okay, thank you. I think you have mentioned many important points. If we conclude the discussion, if we look at the discussion, what we have learned from that, we have a lot of liquidity in the market. And we have this institution. These are also, for example, cash waqf of all are collecting money. So now the question is from Dr. Abdullah Ludeen, because he is a regulator and working in a central bank. So if you look at this situation, so on one hand, we say that we have a lot of liquidity, means bank have money, people need to collect money and use all these tools to have a lot of money to build hospitals and invest in agriculture. So it means too much money we have. Okay, now on one hand, we have this issue. On the other hand, we want to have more people into the system because we need to provide support to the poor, to the hunger people, and you are also try to reduce the effect of COVID-19. So it means we try to bring poor into the system. But if you look at the other side of the coin, in the bank, or other financing tool we have, people are giving you money and you have to take care of their money. So it means on the deposit side, we also need to look at take care of sustainability of the system. If you try to give money everyone and try to address poverty and hunger and give money to everyone, now the question is how your model will be more sustainable and stable. How do you have stability if these people default? And we have seen a lot of leniency and coming out from bank sector and what happened to the whole world in terms of financial crisis. So now the question is how to reconcile these deposit side and financing side, taking into consideration that we also need to address poverty. So how to reconcile this situation? So we are in a dilemma, a kind of dilemma.
Thank you, Dr. Shabeer. One thing is very clear. At the end of the day, bank is bank, and bank will not go for the poor. Bank needs collateral. If there is no collateral and if there is no guarantees, bank will not give you financing. So as I mentioned earlier, to reduce financial and social exclusion in a country, we have to take care of two main areas. Okay, first, for those who have funds and are excluded from the financial system due to religious reasons, in this case, bank can help. We have to provide them with the Islamic financial solutions such as Islamic banking, Sukuk, and Takaful. So those with funds and with collaterals and with guarantees, and they are excluded from the system, then the financial system, especially the banking, it will help them because they have collateral, they have everything, and then they need the faith-based financial solutions. Islamic finance will give them the solutions. But the second category, who are poor and unprivileged, bank cannot help them because they don't have money. If they don't have money, they cannot deposit money because they don't have money. And if they don't have collateral, they cannot receive finance from the bank, even if it's Islamic bank, because Islamic bank is not a charity bank, it's bank. At the end of the day, it's bank. It should follow the regulations. But for the poor, we have solutions in the Islamic social finance, such as for those who are poor and unprivileged, we can take care of them through the Islamic social finance, especially zakat and awqaf. So through Islamic social finance, we can end up social and financial exclusion of the poor and unprivileged. As I mentioned earlier, we have to go for these two institutions, zakat and awqaf, not on a traditional base, just provide them cash and they will use it for 2 or 3 days, and at the end of the week they will not have money again. No, we have to go for the institutionalized way. We have to find rozgar, or the sustenance for the people, sustainable sustenance for the people through these two institutions of zakat and waqf. We have to create corporations. We have to invest in corporations, the zakat funds, and then give share to the poor and unprivileged in those corporations, and they will receive sustainable income from those shares. And for the awqaf, we have to develop the awqaf properties, and then the income coming from those properties and funds, then these funds will be used to sponsor the healthcare services and the education services for the poor. So this is the solution. Rich is at the one hand and poor is at the another hand, and everyone have a separate solution under the Islamic finance and Islamic social finance. Thank you.
I think, thank you. You have given this, I think, a wonderful scenario. And of course, I think there's a famous quotation: "Don't give them fish. You need to teach them how to fish." So I think, yes, if you give them cash, it will die after some time. Now you need to give them a business model. Okay, now I'm returning back to Dr. Putri. So it means that when we are discussing Islamic finance, and of course we have banks. So now, as per the discussion, so now we need to move towards Islamic social finance. So it means we need to focus on Islamic social finance to achieve economic stability, to bring this reduced financial exclusion, to fight against poverty, and to control this hunger. So it means, now the question is, Islamic finance is in the right track now, or we need to restructure the model, taking into consideration the situation?
Thank you so much, Dr. Shabeer, for the questions, tough questions. What is our status quo? There is no general answer here, because every country experiences different set of problems and constraints. But what is happening today in Indonesia is that we are now in the right track. to really put Islamic finance in the center, because Islamic finance should be on the center. It cannot be a side. It cannot be a substitutions. It cannot be an alternative. It has to be the system that we are that organize our economy. So right now, the current trend in Indonesia is to shift towards Islamic finance, as we learned that a current conventional system gives no sustainable and hope. Basically, there is no hope in conventional finance. As I mentioned before, there are several great development in Indonesia regarding the Islamic finance. In terms of Islamic public finance, public finance isn't the same with social finance, because public finance is about government budget, government allocations on the people and etc. Whether we are taxing more people. Basically, in the tax system in Indonesia, we tax less people. We receive a lot of huge tax vouchers or tax discount in Indonesia in order to basically to improve on the consumption and production. We have to unlift the barrier, unlift the costs, unlift the way we organize or distribute the money. We have to unlift the cost, the barrier. So that's Islamic public finance, basically. More simplification in the tax systems, government budget based on the public needs. What does public really need today? It's health. It's about health sectors. It's about infrastructure sector. It's about an access, basically. So. Yeah, we are attacking those issues, and also we strengthen our Islamic banking. We merge 3 Islamic banks into one. There are pros and cons, but basically the main idea is to have this giant Islamic bank in Indonesia that can attract more people, that can have a better health bank, and promote Islamic finance in a massive way, Islamic bank in a massive way, and also to improve people's understanding as well on the Islamic banking, because there are a lot of misconceptions on Islamic banks today. So that's on the Islamic public finance. And Islamic social finance, as I mentioned, we integrated to Islamic public and Islamic social finance through Wakaf system, and also through in terms of social zakat. The zakat system is now being carefully managed, because we have to improve on people's trust again. Distribution is about also. I cannot be a good distributor if you don't trust me. So in order to have a good and efficient allocation distribution system, then we have to improve our trust on the distributor. Who is the distributor is the Amil. So now we are strengthening our Amil, we are strengthening our Wakaf body, we are strengthening our people on the masjid, having those small banks, so-called small banks, because in the masjid also we collect infaq and sadaqah that can be used to fight the hunger. Now we see more people that couldn't afford food. So we have this Jum'ah or Mubarakah, where in every Jum'ah We distribute foods to people from in each masjid in Indonesia. So those collective actions together. Right now, Islamic finance in Indonesia is in better shape than 5 years ago. And what we are lacking now is to strengthen the regulations on the banking side, so that banking is more aggressive towards mudarabah and musyarakah, as our beautiful Dr. Fatin has mentioned that in US is the other way around. Silicon Valley receive a lot of attentions, where we have to build more Silicon Valley in Islamic countries, basically, because we have this mudarabah and musyarakah that promise a lot of khair, a lot of goodness. Who promised it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger. So who doesn't believe the promise, then obviously could not get the true benefit of it. So but the fact that Silicon Valley or crowdfunding projects, crowdfunding system is now emerging or growing is actually the proof that mudarabah and musyarakah can work and should work in Muslim countries as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have given this detailed answer and a very comprehensive way to the so-called difficult question. But I think that the one good news we got today night is that Islamic finance is in the right track in Indonesia, and of course you have aggressive regulations come to mudarabah and musyarakah. But the good news is that Islamic finance is in the right track. So now I think there's the last question I'm asking from Dr. Tawfik, and then I think we will have this half hour for the students we have and also other participants to ask, because they are waiting from almost 12. So Dr. Tawfik, can you share your opinion or give your stance on this? We discussed different tools of Islamic social finance. So which Islamic social finance instruments or tool has the potential to help in terms of normalizing the negative impact of COVID-19 kind of crisis on the people as well as at large we have in the world. So which tool you suggest?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabeer. Actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have, alhamdulillah, in our Islamic finance industry, many tools. We have mentioned about the zakat, the sadaqat, and qard al-hasanat, and even we have this takaful, which is Islamic insurance, in addition to green sukuk. Each one of those institutions can play important role from different perspectives. So if we merge all together those instruments, they will get one clear point how we can mitigate the effects of this COVID-19. Just I want to share also with you one idea. It was mentioned by Brother Abdullah regarding the banks for the poor, when he mentioned that if someone wants to get financing from the bank, they need collateral. Actually, now currently in Turkey, in starting from this crisis, the government launched here something called Credit Guarantee Fund. This has helped lots of customers in terms of financing. For example, let's say that someone wants to start businesses and he wants to take funds from one bank, but he don't have enough mortgage to secure his financing needs. So in this case, they will ask for this assistance for this fund, and they will support him up to 80% out of the required amount. So this case, I mean this fund and the government will share some risks with the banks in times if the customer have defaulted. And in addition to that, currently in the participations or Islamic banks here in Turkey, start when this COVID-19 started, they have taken lots of acts in order to reduce the impacts of the economic reduction. For example, the Forex reserves requirement ratio also have been reduced by 500 basis points for bank in order to fulfill their real credit growth criteria. Also, the Social Security premium was deferred by 6 months for many industries. In addition, there were many social benefits payments for family in needs. Those are all, we can say this, country take actions in order to measure, in order to defend or to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 pandemics. And of course, as most of the countries, most of the employees currently in Islamic financial institutions, they are continue working safely from houses. And I mentioned about this credit guarantee fund. And also, number of Islamic banks actually, they delay and extend the financing amount without any additional charges. So if I come back to your questions, the combinations, in addition, the combinations of many Islamic social financing products like Zakat, Sadaqat, Qardul Hasan, Takaful, and Green Sukuk, which we just discussed, in addition to those defense, inshallah, it will enhance our economics by time, and we will get rid of this COVID-19 by less losses. Thank you, Dr. Shabeer.
Okay, thank you. I think you have important groups. I think that we need to have a combination of many. So I think combination of many tools or many product means that we need to have a hybrid model. This model can be able to absorb the shocks and can help the society after the COVID-19 type of event. Okay, so I think you have mentioned this very interesting. Almost you have solved the problem which I have discussed, and we have discussed this, and particularly Dr. Abdullah has mentioned. So I think we have already just 3 or 4 minutes. So just I want to hear from Dr. Abdullah as a regulator, which he mentioned regarding bank. Okay, in case of Pakistan, Akhwat is using social collateral. Social collateral means when Akhwat give you a loan, they are not asking you any asset. They just ask you to give 2 or 3 witness, and they can provide a kind of guarantee. But again, it's not monetary or asset, it's just people guarantee. So I mean the social collateral. Okay, so I think Dr. Tawfik has mentioned this important thing that government has created fund, and 80% collateral support is given from this government created fund, and the remaining 20% can be provided by the customer. So it means on financing side, now Islamic Bank can provide financing to the poor. If we have this kind of model in which government supports some collateral side and the remaining coming from the customer. So can you utilize this model in other countries regardless of Muslim or non-Muslim? What's your opinion?
Dr. Shabeer, is it directed to me?
Yes, that's directed to you regarding the collateral issue we have when it's come to Islamic Bank. As you mentioned, that bank is always the bank and it's only for those who have collateral. So now we have this fund which can support 80% and the remaining 20% can be supported by the person or the individual who is borrowing.
Exactly. As I mentioned earlier, the banking industry is highly regulated, irrespective of Islamic banking and conventional banking. So this is the one issue that the banks should follow the regulations strictly. In case of Afghanistan, the Islamic banks, they are following regulations strictly, and based on the regulation, they have to receive the collateral 120% of the financing amount. But as Dr. Tawfik mentioned, that there is a credit guarantee fund in Turkey, that they are guaranteeing the financing of Islamic banks to those who are opening the businesses. This is a good idea, but most of the countries, especially the developing countries, they will not afford this type of funds because already the governments, they are facing budget limitations during this COVID-19, and the central banks cannot afford this. In the meantime, how big this credit guarantee fund should be, how many customers they can sponsor, in case if there is anything happen in the future, then again there will be a financial crisis, because neither the fund nor the customer will be able to pay the financing, to repay the financing. So from my point of view, there are other ways and other solutions to through Islamic financial tools, especially if we categorize this poor and rich into two, and the poor will go for the social finance and the rich will go for the banking industry, because banking industry should have to follow the regulations. So once the poor become rich through the Islamic social finance, they became shareholders in corporations, they receive regular profits from the corporations, they receive free healthcare, educations, then he will be able to deposit money or to save money in Islamic banking, and then later on receive financing. And otherwise, financing without collateral will bring banking industry into danger, and banking industry should have followed the regulations strictly.
Okay, thank you. I think you have very clear-cut statement that who are supposed to go for social finance and the rich bank is there. But I think,
Yes.
yes, I think you have concern about the stability issue, because you are not allowed to be too much lenient when it's come to financing side, because the money being held is the public money. I think yes, this regulatory issue or stability of the system issue. I think if Dr. Putri want to add something on this, otherwise I think we will open the floor for the audience to ask questions.
Yeah, so last closing maybe as the opportunity given to me. The truth of Islamic finance lies within our hearts as a Muslim. If we always skeptical on Islamic finance, then we have to ask ourselves, are we a good Muslim? Because as a Muslim, we have this belief, this faith, this heart that obedience to Allah is there's no trade-off of serving, of humbly, of being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what Islamic finance really tells us is to improve our consumptions during crisis, even when your heart feels sad, when you could not provide food even when you could not provide food on the table, you should pay sadaqah. That's the recipe, that's the prescription demonstrated by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have to, during this crisis, we have to keep our consumptions as similar as normal as before. We let future assure it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's our behavior as a Muslim. So that is my last statement. In order to improve our economic situations today, at least to ourselves, pay your sadaqah, pay your infaq, pay your zakat. Then inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you. He will provide you. He will sustain you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think now we have question answer from the audience. So the floor is open for the audience and participants to ask questions. And we have 25 to 20 minutes. If there's any question from the audience, and you can ask through comments. Means you can post your question in chat box, or you can unmute yourself, and you can also ask directly. So you have both options. Guys. Yes.
Yeah, brother Ludeen, how are you? It's good to see you, brother.
I'm good, Prof. How are you, Prof?
MashaAllah. It's a very good seminar you're having. Are you
Thank
in
you.
Afghanistan?
Yes, Afghanistan. Prof.
And this is your class, is it? Is this
Huh?
your class or is it what? Where do you get the students in?
Yeah, I'm currently working with the Ministry of Finance as senior advisor to Ministry of Finance. So this is the Ministry of Finance. I'm still in my office.
MashaAllah, this is a finance class. Yeah, I'm very happy that this you're picking up this topic. This topic is a very hot topic. I'm doing research also on COVID-19, and some of my students are actually listening to you now. It's in the class. We are conducting survey on the perception of microfinance using cash WAF. So that is why I asked them to look. And we are using theories like TPB, theory plan behavior, to measure the variables. That's the reason why I asked them to listen. And they are benefiting from this class. Inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you,
Nice
Prof.
to see you again.
Comments joining us in this webinar. So we have a question from G1. So he's our students and brilliant student we have in our class. So he's asking question. Yes, G1.
Hello, this is Jeevan Kumar from Sakaragi. I a general person that I believe that the Islamic finance is emerging field and growing day by day, and financial instruments are more attractive, and the follower of financial model, Islamic finance model, are increasing day by day. But if you want to follow, if you want to implement this model in that country where the Muslims are in minority, where the people are the followers of other religions. So do you believe that this Islamic finance model will work there, or how you will convince or attract these customers or these people if you launch a new Islamic financial instrument?
I think the question is clear, or should I repeat again? So I think
you may repeat it, Dr. Shabeer. You may repeat,
yes.
Yes, he is asking that, for example, we have discussed a very good things, a very benefit, and many solution is there in Islamic finance when it's come to poverty, hunger, and COVID-19 kind of crisis. But what about if we have people who are in minority, means we have people who are following other religion, they're not Muslim. Can Islamic finance, to put in a simple word, can we have Islamic finance in a non-Muslim world? Or can we have Islamic finance benefit for those who are not Muslim? Yes, so who want to take this question?
Is the question addressed to any one of us, or it's open?
I think that's
It's open.
Well, in my opinion, I think Islamic finance is for all. In fact, Islamic finance has started with maqasid al-sharia, which is, hifdh al-mal, hifdh al-nafs, and so forth. But then, as I have mentioned regarding, the transformation now to something new called sustainable finance, in which we have many indicators, organizations need to comply with. So I have done my PhD partly in sustainability. And what I have noted when I was analyzing the sustainability indicators, that they do not contradict with the maqasid. The world is now shifting to a different model altogether. Organizations who are only focused on profitability, it's not enough anymore. That's why in Malaysia, there is big projects on value-based intermediation. In fact, in Malaysia, I think they have, a lot of customers joining in and buying into the Islamic, banking institutions who are not even Muslims, the Chinese. So I think this means that they are looking for a halal option, more cleaner option, something that is legit, and based on other criteria. And Europe now is really looking into the the sustainability into and ensuring that the products are coming from a very good source. And it's really is adapted in a very nice way, and you can find so many articles on that. So as I said, sustainability and maqasid is not contradictory at all. And I really think that our religion has given us a lot of guidance, and we need not to be apologetic about it. I would like to mention that people do not know that the 10 Sahaba who are promised heaven are actually in their times were millionaires. And the way that we have been dealing with wealth and not I feel that we are kind of apologetic about it, and I don't feel that we should be. We should embrace those beautiful Islamic financial instruments. We should use them. The West is using them. As I said, I mean, Silicon Valley, if you are going to compare which Islamic financial instruments they are using, you will notice that they are doing pure mudaraba and pure musharaka. So if somebody is taking advantage of those particular financial instruments, and we are saying, oh no, it's not working, oh no, it's not applicable, oh no, it's not, I think we are maybe apologetic, or we are not finding the benefit in them. I think we need to change that. Yes, there is elements in our societies that need to change. And there is a verse in Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Nothing will be changed until you change from within. And that change from within starts with sequential steps. If you have seen something wrong, which is not related to Islamic financial instruments, it's related again to human behavior, then you have to acknowledge that and give the issue into the human behavior element, in which sometimes it deviates from where it's supposed to, from the fitrah. Thank you. Hope that this answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I think you have given a very comprehensive answer. So it means Islamic finance are only related to a Muslim as the financial system available for everyone. Your example from Europe, Silicon Valley and many others. So of course, in case of Malaysia, they have 60% Chinese which are non-Muslim. Okay, I think we have also one online question that's from one brother. So he is studying at International Islamic University, Taj Muhammad from Bangladesh. So his question is that bank cannot lend money because of no guarantee, no collateral to those who work, and government cannot also provide guarantee always. So what he's saying, on the other hand, we have cash waqf, which can help in this situation. So it means he is asking that why not we have a waqf bank? Can we build a waqf bank and which we have money available for poor and there's no collateral? I think Dr. Putri will answer because related to our discussion, if I remember, you mentioned regarding this waqf.
Thank you, Brother Shabeer, Dr. Shabeer, and also thank you, Brother Muhammad, Taj Muhammad from Bangladesh, for the questions. Why don't we build Waqf Bank? Yeah, why don't we build Waqf Bank? because it's in the future, yeah, brother, sisters. So it's in the future. So we should aspire. We should spark it on that topic as our academic professions. That I know that Brother Taj Muhammad is a student of IAIN, UIA. So why don't you wrote a paper on it on Waqf Bank, and how Waqf Bank could potentially improve on people's welfare or people life. So and by taking an example, for example, by taking an example of what happens in Malaysia, what happens in Indonesia, as our country is in proximity. that data are available. You can also analyze how cash wakaf linked sukuk that is now developed really well in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in these regions, and also Brunei. I'm hearing that Brunei is taking that steps too, of offering sukuk and based on link it to a cash wakaf. So we, taking it and see and capture it as an academic presentation, then you could the ball start rolling from there on. Hopefully one day policymakers who need policymakers needs a feed, needs suggestions. So they could pick up your papers, read it, and then hopefully we have this wakaf bank or wakaf institutions. In Indonesia right now, we have this huge, not a wakaf bank, but huge wakaf institutions, collections of people, of wakaf, and we are hiring more people to oversee these wakaf institutions. So government invite institutions to be a wakaf institutions. And government also invite people, the Ministry of Religious Affairs also invite people to oversee these wakaf institutions, because people need wakaf. The concept of wakaf is decentralization. We have to people, local people has to supervise the local projects or the local wakaf. So yeah. So decentralization is now pushing towards to wakaf that, not as a one big huge bank wakaf, but a lot of small wakaf institutions and a lot of people overseeing or supervising the wakaf institutions. So that's the key role, the key of Islam decentralization. Also one of the way to minimize costs, because centralization is improving costs. Decentralization is the other way around, reducing costs. So that's my question. That's my answer for that question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Shabeer, can I add something just to Sister Putri? Actually, regarding this good question, why we don't have cash wakaf? Actually, in terms of literature, we have many research papers written about this one. We have, for example, one paper written towards an Islamic social waqf banks. And also we have another paper titled Developing Islamic Waqf Bank as a Mechanism for Financial System Stability, which is written from 2017. But those in terms of literatures, but in terms of implementation, still we have many challenges in how we are going to implement those banks in reality. I mean, we have the mechanism, we have built the structures, but still in Islamic world, still it's difficult. We have also to increase the awareness about importance of those waqf institutions and what is the importance of those waqf as a bank. Still the people, they don't know much about those institutions. So we have to increase the awareness about those institutions, and also we have to implement, and we found the structure, how we can implement it in ground. But this is very good paper or research for our students here who is attending. They can think about it. They can discuss what is the challenges facing implementations of cash wakaf in reality and how they can tackle those challenges. This is also a good paper for them.
Okay, thank you. I think now we have new concept that just like we have bank for rich, now we have new concept bank for poor. Which start bank so okay, the next one we have yes. Yes, you can. Because you don't.
First of all, thank you from all of you as you are the scholars and in front of us and answer those questions. I have some basic questions that are attracting the not religiously in Islam. Then my question is simple that how Musharka, Mudarba, these are the terms that are related with the Arabic word. And the most of the people, like poor people, they don't know about what is the Mudarba, Musharka, or Wakaf. How we can simply attract them towards the Islamic institution that they should trust over us. It is, I think it's a very big matter that to gauge the trust of any other person over the another institution.
I think the question is clear, or should I repeat again? So what she is trying to ask that how to create awareness among people regarding the term we have, Islamic finance term, because people are not familiar with Mudarba, Musharaka, Murabaha, Tawarruk, and all these terms we have. So how to make awareness among people to come to this Islamic finance system.
Yeah, let me try to answer the questions by referring to the first, the Al-Baqarah 275, verse number 275. Could the host mute it? Could the host mute it? Yes, thank you. Okay, let me answer the questions by referring to the verse of the Quran, Al-Baqarah 275. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي لتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا. There are people who says إنما البيع مثل الربا, that indeed that the al-bay is the same with riba. What I want to say is that don't fall on the kias, don't fall on the making it same. When somebody asks you what is mudaraba, what is musharaka, don't put it in the same way like the conventionals do it. Put it as it is in the fiqh muamalah. Teach them what is mudaraba, teach them what is musharaka as in the fiqh says. So that is the only way to basically make people understand. Don't put it in a way that, oh, okay, Islamic bank is the same with the conventional banks, or murabaha is actually the same. The profit in murabaha is actually the same with the conventional riba. No, interest rate. Don't say it, but make them understand. Make them understand that no, this is the fiqh muamalah. This is the scheme. This is the scheme of mudaraba. This is the scheme of musharaka. This is the scheme of murabaha. Don't be afraid that this is the Arabic terminology. Even in our language, we have a lot of Arabic terminology. You know, I believe that in Urdu, there are a lot of hundreds or thousands of words in Arabic used also. So don't be afraid of telling what is the truth. Don't fall into the trap of the people, like Allah mentioned in the 75, Al-Baqarah 275. Don't fall into the trap of that kind of people that, okay, murabah is the same like, partnerships. What? Okay, musharaka is the same like joint venture. What? So people are, they don't understand fiqh muamalah. They don't understand even the conventional. They don't understand. So why don't we teach them basically the fiqh muamalah by telling them what is it actually the scheme, what is it the differences, what is it the structures, the scheme, the mechanism, the techniques. That's the only way we understand. We make them attracted to Islamic financial products, because they will see, oh, that's the benefit. Oh, that's the beautiful of it. So they will attract more, as if we attract to Islam, as if I attract to these doctors, these panelist doctors. Hearing them telling the truth of Islamic social finance. That is how I answer. I believe the panelists also want to add on that.
Yes, please, Sister Putri. So much thank you. I actually agree with you, and simplification is very important for the layman. I mean, if you don't want to use Arabic terms, don't use them. Use the simple terms. When Islam came, I just give you a very nice example of when the hijab verse came. When the hijab verse came, the Sahabiyat at the time, what they have done is they just taken like a piece of, textile in their own dresses, and they just put the scarf and placed it and khalas. So that is a testament of how sometimes we receive, instructions from, the Creator. He is telling us, this is not me saying, this is not Putri saying, this is the Creator himself, ordering us on that particular manner. So for the layman, the beautiful thing is yes, they are very simple people. They do not know terminologies. They do not know, so many things, to be honest, some of the terms are very complex to them. So no matter what you explain, it may not be resonating as much as you are saying, that these are the orders of the Creator, and He is telling us not to, engage in riba. So the Islam itself comes from the word surrender. Islam, salama, surrender, istislam. So it becomes imperative for us that sometimes we have to, the Quran also tell us, أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, think about it. But then when it comes to major prohibitions, such as the riba, we have to tell people that this is a cross line. This is a cross line. It's like you are following or practicing, and you are not following or practicing. So if you don't have an option, yes, we understand. But when you have, then no. And actually, more of the most simple people, if you tell them that this is an order, they don't even argue with you. Remember, in the Quran also, there is something mentioned, وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ أَكْثَرَ شَيْءٍ جَدَلًا. We would like to talk. We'd like to argue. What is the difference between Islamic Bank and what is the difference between conventional? It's the same. We'd like to argue. We just want to point and pinpoint and put our feet down, and But then there are prohibitions that are created not by me, not by scholars. It's the Creator. So you follow. You follow because you are in this umbrella of Islam, which is supposed to protect you. And the layman, in its very simple terms, you can sit with them. Sit with them in masajid, sit with them in wherever they are, in schools. We have a responsibility to reach to this particular segment because they are supposed to know these things and understand that, it's a major prohibition that is mentioned in Quran. How many times riba was mentioned in Quran? Not once, not twice, not 5 times, more. So meaning it's a major prohibition. You don't like the Arabic terminologies, goodness sake, don't use them. Use joint venture, use, profit markup, use whatever you'd like to use. But at the end of the day, abstain from the haram element, because this is something you will be judged upon. And simple people, I promise you, they are the ones who have very clear mind. They don't put, things, complexity. They actually listen. And they see the logic with that. And alhamdulillah, I see it in them that they have a susceptibility. So I hope this answers your question. And I see if the panelists also would like to answer this very interesting question, actually.
Okay, I think we have just 3 or 4 minutes. I think we don't have much time. I think there was Mustafa. Dr. Mustafa was here. I think he was raising a hand. If you want to add something or ask a question or have a comment, so you are welcome.
حياة الدعوة.
Dr. Mustafa was here and he raised a hand, but I don't know, I think maybe he has left. So I think we need to conclude because it's almost 6 o'clock, and if anyone wants to make any comment or something, otherwise we need to conclude the discussion. It's almost 2 hours.
Dr. Shabeer, I just want to add something. Brother Maher Ali, he asked, my question is that whether Islamic banking system is targeted the niche market only. In other, we can say that only words are replaced, but the whole procedure is the same. No, Brother Maher, things are different. We have certain framework for Islamic banking. There are certain rules and regulations that Islamic bank should follow. Especially the three things, it's an interest-free banking. Interest is not there. Secondly, the ambiguity is not there. Everything is clear and known to the parties. And thirdly, the gambling is not around in Islamic banking. If you are just saying this because the Islamic banking is providing murabaha financing, sale-based financing, and it's looking same like the conventional financing, no, it's different because assets are there and they are doing the business based on assets. They are not providing cash to the customers. So someone they are selling someone to the customer, not giving the cash first. The second issue, though the Islamic banking is mostly they're providing debt-based financing, but this is not the ideal Islamic banking. The ideal Islamic banking is to go for the risk-sharing based Islamic financing, and the Islamic scholars, they are working for this concept. So the Islamic banks should go for the mudaraba, musharaka. So I'm using the Arabic terms. I hope someone won't mind it. So the partnership type of contracts, the venture contracts. So the current situation, which is the sale-based contracts or murabaha-based contracts, or murabaha-based financing, ijara. So this is not the ideal situation. So the Islamic banking system will go to the risk-sharing based financing, inshallah, and soon, inshallah. Thank you.
Because we have already spent 2 hours, so I think particularly I'm very thankful to the panelists. They gave us a very precious time and they have a very busy schedule. So I'm really thankful to all the panelists and of course also the participants. They have also spent almost 2 hours with us and they have encouraged our discussion. So I'm very thankful to you, and this is part of our discussion of these kind of events, and future inshallah we will organize many other events like this, and particularly regarding Islamic finance on different topic, and we will try to have very fruitful output from these webinar and these discussions, and definitely we will have a positive impact on people life.
Yes.
So again, very thankful to you on behalf of IBA University. So I'm thankful for all the panelists and of course for all the participants. They gave us very precious time and valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabeer, for organizing
Thank
this.
you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
brother.
you.
Thank you.
ألف خير.
طيب.
السلام عليكم.
سلام عليكم.
مع السلامة، إلى اللقاء.